So I've had a couple atheists tell me that the vast majority of experts have rejected the existence of God based upon evidence and all agree that God is no longer a topic worth consideration. However, let's just take a look what the atheist says here. It says well over 90% of all scientists revoke the notion of a God based on currently presented evidence. So, first of all, scientists are not really experts in uh, the existence of God, but let's just take a look at this claim. In this poll by the Pew Research Center finds that 17% of scientists are atheists and 11% are agnostics. So clearly not the case. And we also have down here 33% that believe in God and 18% who believe in some sort of higher power. So again, clearly not the case. So let's just move on from here. He also says about the same number of contemporary philosophers don't even engage the question about a God anymore, precisely because the general agreement is that the idea has been done away with. Even the philosophers that deal with theology usually view it as a historical segment to be studied, not a factual proposition. I mean, I'm sure there are a select few that believe in God, but they are by far a vast minority. So, first of all, there are different disciplines of philosophy, for example, epistemology and ethics and such like that. So, not all of them are instead of philosophy of religion, and maybe a minority are in philosophy of religion. But I mean, just because there's in science we have biology and chemistry, and a biologist doesn't necessarily know anything about astronomy, that doesn't necessarily mean that they dismiss the idea. So let's take a look at a poll here to get an idea of what philosophers believe. According to this poll, 73% of philosophers are atheists and 15% are theists. So is that a vast minority here? Is that just a select few? Clearly not. But you can make your own decisions on that. And let's just take a look at those who specify inside of philosophy of religion here. 72% accept theism and 19% accept atheism. So it's like a reversal of the previous decision. So those who are actually in the field of philosophy of religion that would be in the best position to know if God exists actually accept that God exists. So I mean we can make different determinations about that, but clearly we can't say that they only view it as a historical segment to be studied and it's just a vast minority. Clearly not the case. All right, so now I'm going to move over to the Routledge uh, publishing group, which is not a Christian group. I just want to point that out. They publish books on Einstein, Russell, Popper, all sorts of different philosophers. And it begins by saying that some people have suggested that philosophy is no longer considering theism, and theism is no longer a serious dispute. However, it says, and despite the best efforts of the new atheists and their ilk, the flippancy of certain mid 20th century philosophers such as Bertrand Russell is no longer viable simply to dismiss the theistic philosophy as unworthy of serious intellectual attention. The atheist philosopher Quentin Smith observes that following the publication of some closely argued books in support of theism by leading philosopher Alvin Plantinga, it became apparent to the philosophical profession that realist theists were not outmatched by naturalists in terms of the most valued standards of analytic philosophy, conceptual precision, rigor of argument, technical erudition, and in-depth defense of original worldview. In philosophy, it became almost overnight academically respectable to argue for theism. Notwithstanding Smith's observations, many standard histories of philosophy still give the impression that the arguments for God's existence were decisively refuted by David Hume and Immanuel Kant in the 18th century. And while popular Anglophone introductions to philosophy might find a reprint of Anselm's ontological argument and Aquinas' five ways, sometimes described as proofs, it is rare to find any indication that philosophers have made significant advances with these lines of reasoning since they were short-circuited by modern science and the efforts of Hume and Kant. But these impressions are readily dismissed when one takes stock of the cutting-edge philosophical works that has reinvigorated virtually all the classical theistic arguments. To some observers, this might not be surprising. There's an old saying that old soldiers never die, they simply fade away. And it has been remarked that philosophical ideas are even worse than old soldiers. They not only never die, they never even fade away. However, the increasing number of institutions, such as the Notre Dame Center for Philosophy of Religion and the British Society of Philosophy of Religion, journals, notably the International Journal for Philosophy of Religion, Religious Studies, Faith and Philosophy, and Philosophia Christi, and books dedicated to the philosophy of religion is a sign of a vigorous growing interest in theism and other themes within the wider discipline. There is even a journal, Philo, dedicated to the critique of theism. So clearly it's not the case that atheism is defeated theism, and there's no point in even considering theism anymore inside of philosophy. It's a disputed topic just like any other topic. So we must, as atheists, take it seriously. For example, Quent and Smith, we must take it seriously. Thanks for watching.